It's 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night. On the TV screen is the familiar logo of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. You're about to sink into that world for the 12th time when your partner walks in. You're watching that movie again. Don't you ever get bored? The short answer is no. But the real answer is, you're kind of asking yourself the same thing. The truth is, you just spent 45 minutes of your life hopelessly scrolling through Netflix's top 10 list, the latest action blockbuster, the series that's blowing up all over social media. Everything looks shiny and is praised by the whole world. But by some invisible force of gravity, your finger ignores it all and goes right back to the Prisoner of Azkaban or the Deathly Hallows. To an outsider, this looks like boring repetition or mental laziness. Why in the middle of a huge entertainment buffet with thousands of exciting new dishes, do you keep stubbornly ordering the same old dish for the past 10 years? Is our brain broken somehow? Actually, there's no bug at all. Behind this habit that seems like a waste of time is a surprisingly smart defense mechanism of the brain. Let's break down this strange addiction through the lens of psychology. Chances are you fall into one of the following 5 types of people. Type 1, the brain needs a break person. You go back to old movies not because you're feeling nostalgic. It's because you're too tired to make one more decision. Try to remember how you feel after a terrible Monday. Your boss pushes a last-minute deadline. Clients complain about nonsense. The roads are completely jammed under blazing heat or pouring rain. You finally get home, toss your bag aside, kick off those tight shoes, and the fuel tank in your brain is basically flashing red. At that moment, all you want to do is lie down and shut down. But here's the problem. We live in the age of the paradox of choice. Back in the day, when technology wasn't that advanced, TV had just a few channels. Whatever was on, you watched it. Life was great because you didn't have to think much. And now, Netflix, YouTube, HBO, and millions of options hit your brain the second you open the screen. Scientists call this state decision fatigue. Every time you choose a new movie, your brain actually has to work really hard. You have to read the description. You have to check the IMDb score to see if it's above 7.0. You have to watch the trailer to decide if this movie is worth 2 hours of your life. That's a huge emotional gamble. What if the movie is bad? You'll regret the time and feel annoyed. What if it's super sad or has a tragic ending? You might feel heavy, depressed, maybe even lose sleep that night. What if it's too complicated and makes you strain your brain to figure things out? You're supposed to be resting right now. Why give yourself extra homework in movie form? Watching an old movie, on the other hand, is like choosing a safe investment. You know 100% what the return will be. No anxiety, no fear of a plot twist that makes you angry. You know at minute 15, you'll laugh at the character's goofy face. And at minute 40, you'll feel touched by a kind act. Watching a new movie is like driving in a strange city during rush hour. Your eyes are glued to the GPS, the road signs, watching out for cars cutting in, scared of taking a wrong turn. It's exhausting. Watching an old movie, that's like walking the familiar path from school back home. You can walk with your eyes half closed, listen to music, let your mind wander, and you'll never get lost. That's when the brain truly gets to rest. It switches into autopilot mode. So don't call yourself lazy. Your brain just wants to shift into neutral and cool down after a long day racing through life. But tiredness is only the surface. Dig deeper. And there's another type of person who rewatches old movies because their brain sees anything new as a threat. Type 2. The fear of uncertainty person. When your energy runs low, the brain switches into defense mode, and anything unpredictable gets labeled as danger. That's when you enter a special psychological state, the emotional green zone. In this zone, the brain is no longer looking for entertainment. It's looking for absolute safety. Here's a hard truth. The world out there is extremely unpredictable and sometimes cruel. Today, you might be fine, but tomorrow, something unexpected can hit you. We are afraid of uncertainty. Humans have been wired since prehistoric times to fear the unknown because the unknown usually came with danger. And that's when old movies become a true safe zone. In psychology, there's a concept called predictability. When you watch a new movie, whether it's a Marvel action film or a James Wan horror movie, your brain stays on high alert. What's going to happen next? Who's the villain? Will the main character survive? That suspense creates a mild form of stress. But when you rewatch Stranger Things, Superman, or Harry Potter, you are the god of that world. You know exactly which monster will appear, when Superman will take flight, which spell Harry will use. That sense of knowing in advance gives you a powerful feeling of control. In real life, you can't predict when you might lose your job, when your partner gets upset, or when a pandemic will break out. Everything feels out of your control. But in the world of old movies, everything happens exactly the way you expect. Order is restored. Good always beats evil. Misunderstandings are always resolved at the very last minute. Psychologists point out that for people dealing with stress or anxiety, rewatching familiar content has a strong healing effect. It helps slow the heart rate and reduce cortisol, the stress hormone in the blood. It's like a weighted blanket, the kind that calms the nervous system, wrapping around your mind and whispering, "It's okay. No matter how chaotic the outside world gets, in this world, everything is fine." And the ending will be just as good as the last time you watched it. That's why so many people choose Ghibli animations or gentle family movies whenever they feel low. They don't need high drama. They need reassurance that peaceful corners of the world still exist. For these people, old movies aren't entertainment. They're legal sedatives. Type 3, what I call the attached person. Have you ever felt like you truly know, truly understand the characters in a show? You know, Joey and friends will say, "How you doing?" You know, Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory will knock 3 times. Honestly, sometimes they feel closer and more understanding than those casual friends you only meet in real life to complain together. Scientists call this a parasocial interaction. The name sounds academic and serious, but simply put, the human brain can be pretty naive. On an emotional and neurological level, it doesn't clearly separate a real flesh and blood friend from a fictional character on a screen. When you spend dozens or even hundreds of hours with them through a screen, your brain automatically files them under people I know. In real life, relationships can be exhausting and full of pressure. Friends can change, betray you, or simply be too busy with their own lives to listen. You have to try to please them, watch what you say. But friends in movies and TV shows are always there. They never change, and they welcome you every single time you hit play. Every time you rewatch an old show or movie, it feels like going to a class reunion. You see familiar faces again, hear the same old jokes, and somehow they're still funny. In your loneliest moments, when it feels like the whole world has turned its back on you. Seeing a beloved character appear on the screen can soothe emotional pain better than any empty advice. Because with those characters, you don't have to try to impress anyone. You're not afraid of being judged. You just sit there, belong to their world, and enjoy their presence. They offer a kind of low-cost emotional support. You get warmth and joy without having to put in any effort to maintain the relationship. Some people rewatch movies for the story. Some people rewatch movies because they don't want to lose another relationship. Type 4, the self-reflection person. This is the deepest type. They don't rewatch movies for the movie itself. They watch to look back at themselves. Think about this. The movie doesn't change a single frame. Every line of dialogue is the same. Every facial expression stays exactly where it has been for decades. It's like a marker nailed into the timeline. But every time you press play at a different stage of your life, it somehow feels completely different. Why does the movie stay the same, but our feelings change? Because the movie is a constant. You are the variable. Imagine standing in front of an old tree year after year. The tree is still there. The branches and leaves look the same. But each time you stand under its shade, your mindset is different. A child sees the tree as a castle to climb. An adult sees it as a place to rest after storms. Rewatching movies works the same way. It's how we hold up a mirror to our past selves. Let's go back to Tom and Jerry. The first time you watched it at age 5, you laughed out loud when Tom got his hand stuck in a door or got tricked by Jerry. In your eyes, Jerry was the smart hero, and Tom was the bad guy who deserved it. Watching again at age 25, you have a job now. You know the pressure of making a living. Suddenly, your heart tightens when you look at Tom. You realize Tom is actually a very dedicated employee. He's just doing his job so he doesn't get kicked out by his owner. And Jerry sometimes feels like an annoying troublemaker who makes Tom's work miserable. You start seeing yourself in that tired look on Tom's face. Or take romantic movies like Titanic or La La Land. When you were a teenager, you watched them and only saw romance and noble sacrifice for love. But after going through a few breakups, after learning that life isn't a fairy tale, you watch them again and suddenly see the harsh realities, the painful choices the characters have to make. You no longer dream about a perfect ending. You understand separation. Rewatching old movies is like using a fixed ruler to measure how much your soul has grown or how many scars it has picked up. Scenes that once felt huge now seem small. Lines that once sounded cheesy now make you pause the screen and think because they hit exactly what you've just lived through. It's also like reading an old diary. You suddenly realize, oh, I was so naive 10 years ago. Or, oh, I didn't understand this scene back then, but now it really sinks in. By returning to an old story, you see how your view of the world has changed. You find yourself more forgiving, more understanding of human flaws, or sometimes just more realistic. So, rewatching movies isn't a waste of time. It's a way to check your own growth. It reminds you, life keeps moving. But the values I learned from this movie are quietly growing inside me. And the final type, the coming home person. They rewatch movies not because the movie is great, but because it's a doorway back to a time long gone. Just hearing the opening theme of Friends Are Home Alone instantly brings a whole scene into your head. Your grandma's old house, the smell of cooking smoke, a chunky 14-inch TV, or the feeling of sitting close with your siblings sharing a piece of cake. Movies are a kind of emotional anchor. The human brain is extremely good at linking images and sounds to specific memories. When you rewatch a movie, you're not just watching the story. You're bathing yourself in the atmosphere of the past. There are movies we rewatch not because they are masterpieces, but because they are tied to someone we loved or a period of life when we felt happiest. Watching them is a way to meet the best version of ourselves from the past. In a society where everything changes too fast, these old movies become peaceful islands where our minds can dock. They remind us that no matter how harsh life gets, we once had moments that were pure and joyful like that. So the real question isn't why do you keep rewatching the same movie? It's what are you using that movie to do for your mind? We don't always need to chase the newest thing. We don't have to be the first person to watch every trending show just to have something to talk about with coworkers. Sometimes stepping back and returning to what's familiar is exactly how we recharge and move forward. Rewatching old movies is a form of self-love. It's how you allow your brain to rest, allow your heart to be soothed by familiar melodies, and allow yourself to reconnect with core values that the chaos of life may have blurred. The world might release 10,000 new movies every day, but the ones that make you feel like you're home are only a few. Don't feel guilty for choosing peace over drama. You're not stuck in the past. You're using the past as a valuable resource to enrich your present. What about you? Which movie is your old friend? Leave a comment below. And if you saw yourself in today's story, hit subscribe and share it with a friend you know. Because here, we don't just learn psychology. We learn how to understand ourselves. There's still so much you don't know yet. Click here to keep getting smarter. I'm Apex. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any videos. Goodbye, and see you next time.